we're kind of on chapter 3 of this saga, kind of moving towards chapter 4. Chapter 1 was learning how to be a takeout restaurant. Chapter 2 was learning how to have people safely indoors. Chapter 3 was moving that all outdoors. And now heading into chapter 4, we're working on a pedestrian plaza for the street outside the restaurant. Without a doubt, the hardest decision was realizing that we had to furlough our staff at the onset of this. Kindred has, at that point, 55 employees, most of which opened the restaurant with me in 2015. Not every restaurant has this same story, but PPP did work out for us. We had decided to operate as a takeout restaurant, so we were already bringing people back onto payroll. So getting that PPP money and then having it extended definitely served as a cushion for us at a time that, despite operating takeout, our business was still losing money every month, and frankly still is. The decision process for me has been safety right away, especially for the team members and the guests, obviously, as well. After that, it's figuring out how to safely operate a business in this environment for your staff, for your guests, in a way that still feels true to your values and your mission as a company and as a restaurant. It also comes down to only moving forward with something if the guest experience still either resembles what you did before or at least feels like a new version of what you always were, versus reinventing the wheel and going into some space that really doesn't resonate or make sense or previously never made sense for your business. Kindred's normally a pretty lively environment, kind of straddling that fence between bar energy and busy restaurant energy. And, when we thought about, booths, like empty booths in between two different groups of people dining, we thought, we contemplated, is that going to be awkward? Well, how do we design something conceptually that actually doesn't make it awkward, that actually kind of plays into it? We ended up launching like a pop-up in our own restaurant. We called it the Crypt Sessions, kind of imagining as if we were letting guests into kind of this private chamber in our restaurant that is deliberately kind of sparse and therefore kind of intimate. Changed the look inside of our restaurant. We changed the music. We went to a reservation-only 7-course food and cocktail prefix menu. Essentially tried to take that, what could be awkward environment, and actually make it feel special and unique, and kind of look at this really bizarre time as like, hey, for better and for worse, and mostly for worse, we're never going to have this opportunity to kind of try and interact with our guests in this way. So like having 8 tables in the restaurant sat for a 2-hour multi-course meal, that we could be more ambitious in the kitchen because we weren't just, having to be obsessed with, efficiency and being able to increase the price point a bit, which allowed us to be able to have labor that could result in more servers and staff interacting with the guests and kind of creating this like adventurous experience like inside the space. That ended up being so far what I'm most proud of doing. We've made really fun and cool looking barriers and partitions and cool looking signs about wearing your mask and how to behave and how not to behave in the restaurant. But I think that was something that felt really special and definitely won't happen again. Takeout cocktails have kind of been in 2 phases. The first phase was when everybody was kind of locking down in their homes. And for that, we thought, well, we could do these single serving cocktails to go, but we really saw that most likely people at a very rare moment outside of their house were probably coming to like stock up, and we're probably going to try and stay in their house for the rest of the weekend. So we actually went to a wine supply warehouse and ordered 750 milliliter clear wine bottles, which essentially allowed us to make bottles that hold 4 to 6 cocktails, almost kind of like a weekend package for our guests. that did extremely well for us, thanks to the allowance from ABC to be able to start doing that at that first phase when people were really just staying inside. After people started getting out and about, we learned it was actually best to maybe revert back to more single serving. There was people getting out and walking their dog and maybe wanting to pick up a cocktail to bring home at that time, not necessarily wanting to spend $50 on 6 cocktails that'll sit in their fridge for a day or two. Going back to some of our goals was, let's not necessarily try and reinvent our cocktail program. Let's sell the cocktails that our guests know and love. We had just rolled out an exciting spring menu right around the time that this all hit, so we really just served our normal cocktails in a to-go format. If in 3 weeks we were told we can no longer operate in these pedestrian plazas, it would be a big problem. I think most restaurants, at minimum, are probably spending $7,000 to $8,000 to get these off the ground. In many other cases, it's closer to $15,000 to $20,000. So that's at a time when most restaurants aren't even close to 50% of their normal sales. So they're using either savings they had or their forgivable portion of the PPP. There's significant investment involved in operating that pedestrian plaza. So we really need the regulations to allow us to operate these for a while, perhaps even including after our restaurants are allowed to have dine-in, so that we can offer a dine-in indoor operation, but we also have the safer outdoor environment. Not to mention, in some restaurants' cases, Kindred would be one of them, it might actually allow us to increase our seating capacity once we do get to the other side of this thing, such as after a vaccine, to actually help make up for some of the losses, meanwhile providing a safer experience for our guests. From a design standpoint, we're already kind of regulated in what we can and can't do from the guidelines. Not that I necessarily found the guidelines to be constraining. What's also kind of happened is, outdoor seating, outdoor chairs, umbrellas, they're like the new toilet paper. The people that can fabricate something original, they're backed up, and the warehouses that can sell lots of it are sold out or nearing sold out. So what you're really trying to do is to find the most, fashionable and aesthetically connected kind of furniture or environment for your guest at the least amount of money, with something that can actually arrive in 2 weeks. We just found some chairs we love, but they're not fulfilling orders anymore until October, November, just to get some seating on the patio. In some cases, restaurants are able to use their indoor seating and just place it outside. But because Kindred went with like an original design and build, we fabricated most of our seating, inside the restaurant. It's not portable. We spent 3 hours in a rented U-Haul yesterday getting road barriers for our pedestrian plaza from fellow restaurants that had an extra 1 or 2 here, 1 or 2 there, just because you can't actually get those protective barriers anymore even. My message to the city would be the same as to the state, which is our allowance to be able to do takeout cocktails, our allowance to be able to operate parklets, they are extremely helpful, and they have required significant investment. And so what we really need is those initiatives that have opened up our world a little bit to have a higher chance of survival. We need those to stick around, and actually stick around for a while. We haven't had a single month in which we've eclipsed 40% of our normal sales. In fact, it's usually more like 30%, and that's with around the clock adapting to basically be at the very edge of what we can safely and productively do to kind of keep doing what we do. If you're working on a restaurant that is going to open up in the next 6 to 18 months, I think you have to take into account outdoor seating as part of that concept. We've yet to see, as of the beginning of August, if indoor dining can actually persist in this environment. We've tried it along with other businesses opening, and cases went up. There was a while there at the beginning of the pandemic when I was almost spending 3-4 hours a day at least on the phone with other restaurateurs, just giving help and receiving help, and doing my best that whenever I got help to kind of pay it forward. One of the most amazing things that has come from this pandemic is restaurant owners and hospitality workers collaborating and banding together like never before.